Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of the new opera that was shown today at the Wiener Staatsoper. I'm of course referring to Johanna Doderer's Fatima oder vor den mutigen Kindern with a libretto done by René Zistra. The conductor was Benjamin Bale, the production was done by Henry Manson, the set design was handled by Jan Meyer, and the costumes were done by Rebecca Wild, Ewan Hunter, Peter Tauber, Julia Joylin, Barbara Kriegel, and Erzsébet Kotzes. Now, I have stumbled upon this opera by chance as I was searching for operas to see in Vienna, and when I stumbled upon the name of Fatima, well, this opera in particular, I was quite curious with it, only to find out, well, just today, that it was a new opera and even meant for children. So I became even more curious about it, but also because I have never heard of the original source material that was based upon, which was called Fatima and the Dream Thief, which was written by Rafik Shami. So I have never heard about this opera before. I have never heard about this fairy tale especially. So I was thinking, this opera and a fairy tale, that could actually be very interesting. And let me just tell you that after I watched the opera in its entirety, which is only 1 hour, I have to say, I was quite blown away with a lot of things, and this was definitely a very strong premiere and a very strong first impression of the opera, all thanks to Johanna Doderer's, well, great composing and great attention to the music and great attention to every single character, and even to René Zistra's, well, charming way of handling the text. So let's get started with what I thought about the production. As a production of any fairy tale opera, I usually have high expectations. When it comes to any typical fairy tale opera production, I would usually expect it to have a lot of color, a lot of vibrancy, a lot of scenery, and all this and that. I expect a lot of trees, rivers, and mountains, forests, you name it, anything that's totally typical in a fairy tale opera. With this, the elements were quite there, but it's more in a way that it almost looks like a Tim Burton movie or even a Tim Burton production with a good amount of dark scenery. And sure, there were trees, but they almost looked like silhouettes of trees. And the lights were actually very great. I mean, with using a lot of different colors, like almost all the color palettes that were being used with the lights were very much well done. And I also have to say that some of the furniture and some of the scenery were also quite good. I probably would have loved to have a lot more, well, scenery, like more trees, mountains, rivers, castles, and all those other fine things, and all those other fancy things. But for what it stands for, I guess it's easy to say that it takes place in a dreamland. So I thought it managed to, really portray itself well in terms of the production. But I have to say that the costumes were very colorful, yet at the most points kind of simple, but very colorful and very elegant looking. I especially like the color schemes for Hassan and his sister Fatima, whereas Hassan is all green, Fatima is all red, and the Lord of the Palace is all purple. And with the mother of Hassan and Fatima, she is in earthy colors, and with all the children, they have a lot of different colors. And with the silent woman, she starts out with the opera wearing all gray, but then as the Sultan or the Lord of the Palace ends up being thrashed by Fatima, she then changes into a light blue color of her dress. So basically, I really liked the production, and I thought it was very interesting as well, but I really, really loved the costumes. But before I get to the characters, I also like to talk about the story of this opera. Now, the story is quite simple, yet beautifully, well, written, so to say. So it basically starts off with a poor family, with an ill mother and her two children, Hassan and Fatima. One day, Hassan decides to get that golden dream dust from the Lord of the Palace by trying to work for him. So the Lord of the Palace then ensues him, or basically hires him to work for him, so long as he doesn't stay upset at him. So with every circumstance that he encounters, he tries to keep his cool, but the Lord of the Palace pulls his last leg, and then he automatically gets kicked out with his dreams, captured by the evil Lord of the Palace. So it's up to Fatima to help her brother and help her mother. So she manages to play the Sultan's game and manages to trick him in every move, showing how crafty she can be. And all the dreams are back. The silent woman no longer, is silent anymore. She's free to speak, and all ends happily. A simple story, but a very pretty one at that. One that you could easily follow, and one that you could easily, make your kids enjoy from time to time. Now that it's settled, let's talk about the singers. And with the main heroine, she was sung by a very wonderful young late lyric soprano who I saw a couple of nights ago as the milliner from Rosenkavalier. I'm of course referring to Andrea Carroll, a very wonderful young late lyric soprano who has a very bright future ahead of her. She's basically very well known in singing a lot of young girl and ingenue roles. She not only had the sparky, vibrant, and brilliant voice to portray such a character, but also the great acting chops. She starts out very frightened at first, but once she sees her brother going through hell and back, she finally realizes she has to take the chance, and she does it in such a very fine and very feisty and very fun manner. I could tell that Andrea Carroll had a lot of fun, not only portraying this part, not only singing this part, but actually being immersed in this character. I could really go on and on of how much I enjoyed Miss Carroll in this role. But suffice to say, she had a lot of charm, wit, and an overall charisma and brilliance that is just so wonderful and just so infectious that I practically found myself enjoying her stage presence from beginning to end. And then we get her brother, sung by the fabulous young Mexican lyric tenor, Carlos Osuna, who I also saw in my first opera night at the Wiener Staatsoper as Janek from Vetsmakropoulos. He has a very fine voice. He portrays his character very well, giving him such a type of melancholy, at the same time type of determination, and a type of charisma and brilliance that really makes his character come alive. I'm actually really impressed to really see him portray this role really well, and he really does it with flying colors. Singing the main villain, which is the Lord of the Palace, is a singer I admire so much and I admire tremendously. And that is the Romanian basso or bass baritone, Sorin Coleban, who is very well known singing a lot of kings, villains, and at times some comic villains as well. He really played his part very well, with an excellent technique, with a very fine voice, and of course, great acting skills. There are times you want to feel afraid of him, and there are times that you just really want to love to hate this character. He was totally immersed in his character. He gave a lot of charisma, a lot of flamboyance, and just so much dark light in this character. I know this sounds like an oxymoron, but that's how it is. It's a sort of dark brilliance to this character, which he manages to put in a lot of layers, and he just managed to really make his character a lot of fun to watch, even though he's the villain. And then we get Monica Bohinets, who is a mezzo contralto I have been admiring for quite some time. I've heard her name a lot, but I've actually admired the work that she's done in singing the mother in this opera. I really enjoy her voice. I really enjoy her stage presence. I enjoy her acting. She managed to portray her character well, even though it's such a thankless character role. Then we have yet another character role, which is that of the silent old woman, portrayed by Carol Wilson. Yet another mezzo contralto that I admire very much. For those of you who don't know Carol Wilson, she basically is very well known in a lot of roles sung by a dramatic mezzo, and as in the late 90s, she sang the likes of Amneris and Venus from Tannhäuser before graduating into the more motherly and even grandmotherly and witchy roles like Ulrika and Herodias from Un ballo in maschera and Salome, respectively. She acted her part very well, in which you could feel totally sorry for her with this character. She portrays the silent woman very well, and in terms of her final part where she can feel free to speak, out comes a very mellifluous and just a very, very wonderful timbre in her voice, which is no surprise because this woman has found herself singing a lot of mezzo and contralto roles, and it really shows how well she's able to sing roles like this. And we even get one of the children members of the opera school in Vienna who sang the role of one of the spirits very well, and even the members of the opera school in Vienna who also sang the other spirits, excellently done. So I'm really impressed with the cast of singers, and I'm also impressed with the conducting done by Benjamin Bale, who really paid such a great amount of attention to the text and a great amount of attention to the music. So overall, I have to say that this was definitely a strong first impression of such a new opera. I really do hope that this gains a lot of international fame. I hope this gets performed in the likes of the Metropolitan Opera House. I hope this gets performed in the Royal Opera House. Hell, I also hope this gets performed at the Deutsche Oper or even the Staatsoper Theater. I really hope that this opera gets a lot of international recognition. And with that said, I really have to give it all the international recognition that it deserves. And I have to say, since it's Christmas time, I will go out of my way and say that this is definitely a great Christmas present that you could give to your kid or even to your kid's friends and to anybody because, well, it's a really wonderful opera. It has a beautiful story. It may have a pretty simple story, but the singing is excellent. I really recommend it as a great Christmas present to your loved ones, especially to those who love opera and to those who are interested in the world of opera, especially when it comes to fairy tale operas. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in later for a couple of more reviews, like my review of Nightmare Before Christmas, which I'm sure it's been dying to get the review it really deserves, and even a review of the Four Seasons concert, well, Vivaldi's Four Seasons, which will be shown at the St. Charles Church. So until then, see you later, everybody.